everybody, and welcome to A Course in Miracles and More. So, yeah, there's something so amazing happening, and I just discovered it because I love this scientist, Dr. Mikio Kaku. I've read many of his books, and so the news on the street is that the inner core of our Earth has stopped spinning. Isn't that interesting? So we're going to talk about the dream world for a few minutes, and so, go check it out and find out everything about the inner core and, what does that mean? And, everything in the external world is a reflection of what's happening inside of us. So what's our inner core? What's that about? I mean, he did say that the inner core of the earth seems to have stopped. It slowed down and it stopped, and it's probably, that was a key word, probably going to go backwards in reversal. It's going to spin in reverse. And but what does that mean? And it's so funny because I was out last night with Jackie. We were walking our dogs, and Jackie said, "Do you feel something in the air?" And I said, "Well, yeah, kind of. It just feels like the times that we live in, of course, are transitional times. So there are weird kind of feelings and different things coming up that are unusual, I would say. And we're all feeling it, right? Aren't you feeling it?" And so then I was saying, well, the Earth's core has gone in reverse. And of course, we know that the magnetic pole shifts. That's been happening for a while. I think since 1989, there has been, that magnetic pole has been shifting. And even the airports, I mean, they've had to recalibrate everything for the planes to land and this and that. So really, really interesting times that we live in. And the other thing I want you to check into is the Schumann resonance, which is the heartbeat of the planet. That's also, shifting and changing. And of course, what is the Schumann resonance within us? Because again, everything external is a reflection of what's happening internally for the collective as well as your individual consciousness. So, and then, one of the things too that I find so important at this time is to think about the magnetic field, the magnetism of our planet, and to think of the Divine Mother, the divine elements of love, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. We are surrounded in these beautiful magnetic fields. And what's also happening is that we are having these massive solar flares coming from our sun. And these solar flares, interesting enough, affect the inner core of our Earth. So everything is interconnected. But as a flare comes off of our sun, they bring light codes. And these light codes actually upgrade our DNA. But if you are in resistance, then there's a lot of symptoms in the body that are telling you are resisting love. And so I want to read to you a little bit from Sai Baba because, I feel his presence so much lately because, all the masters, all the spirit guides, the archangels, the angels, your own guardian angel, everything is trying to get your attention to wake up because we are creating a new earth. So I'm going to talk two things before we go into our lesson, but it's all connected. Course in Miracles and More. It's all connected. We are here. Our purpose is self-realization. And in order to become self-realized, we have to forgive the dream. We have to forgive the concept that we are separate from God. It's a concept. It's not a truth. And because you've made it your truth over lifetimes of subconscious programming, well, there's a lot of undoing to do, as they say. So I'll get into the course as well. But let me read first from the Bible. This comes to me. I love the book of Revelations. So if you don't have a Bible, you can Google it, but it's Revelations 21. It's called A New Heaven and a New Earth. So pertinent because I love the song Jamie sang, Isn't It Time? Was it?
Yeah, I think that.
Isn't It Time by Jason Isabel. And it's just so fitting. So the message coming to us from Revelation says, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth." I think that's really important for you to see the earth that you want to live on in your mind, because by the power of our thoughts, we are creating the world we see. We are contributing. So what does the new earth look like to you? Do you have a vision of what that looks like, as well as you as a human being representing everything that God is? What does that look like? So I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth has passed away. Because our concept of heaven is we created in our image and likeness, and we think it's a place, right? And the earth we've created in our own image and likeness, you know, and the way you think of yourself is how you see the world. The way you think of yourself is what you think heaven is about. But that's all passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the New Jerusalem. What is that? Like, you have to read between the lines here, guys. This is a metaphysical, esoteric message. You are to read it from the soul, not literally. And literally, I mean, as within, so without. So read it from both, okay? So we saw a new holy city, the New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God. God is source energy. Prepared as a bride, beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "Look, God's dwelling place is now among the people, and he will dwell with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God." Are you one of God's people? Meaning, are you the embodiment of love and claiming that for yourself? Are you remembering who you are as the image and likeness of God? Not a self that you made up. That is absolutely delusional. That is not who you are. When you know who you are as what God created, you will be one of his people. His people, okay? He will wipe every tear from their eyes. So there'll be no more sorrow when you are in alignment with love, with God, with this beautiful source energy. No more tears. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. And if we put it in terms of, you know, the old way has gone, that would be, you could say, almost the Piscean age moving into the Aquarian age. We're creating something new, which is the unity and brotherhood of man. Then he goes on to say, he who was seated on the throne said, "I am making everything new." Then he said, "Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true." He said to me, "It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty, I will give water without cost from the spring of the water of life. Those who are victorious will inherit all of this, and I will be their God, and they will be my children. But the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, those who practice magic arts, the idolaters, and all the liars, they will be consigned to the fiery lake of burning sulfur. This is the second death." They're already dead. When you choose dead thoughts, you're already dead. And if you stay in that mindset, you will be consigned to the fiery lake of burning sulfur. And that would be, you just keep, you know, it's a second death. So look that up. That's the book of Revelations 21. It's just so fitting for what we're talking about. So now I want Jamie to put up on the screen the chakras and the electromagnetic field. So did anybody out there hear about the inner core of the earth stopping and perhaps spinning backwards or spinning in the opposite direction? Has anybody heard about that? Check it out. So interesting. Because the outside world is a reflection of an inward condition. Yeah. That is a law, a universal law. And it's also, we could say, in one of God's laws, it's the law of rhythm. That what went this way will go that way. The law of rhythm. Summer becomes fall, fall becomes winter, winter becomes, you know, spring, and on and on. Seasons change. What goes out comes back in. So it's interesting. This is a law of God. All right. So in the meantime, while Jamie's putting that up, let me share with you a wonderful, this is so interesting. It is an interview with a reporter.
Sorry, Mom. Somebody said, I can't see who it is, but they said, yes, they did see it on CNA News.
Yeah, it's making mainstream news. That's what's so interesting about it. It's making mainstream news. But Dr. Mikio Kaku, who I love listening to him, he's so interesting. He talks about this event and that no one really knows. This is uncharted territory, guys, like beneath our feet in the core of the earth, which is like spinning, and he calls it in a you could say like a field of molasses. It's like independent of the crust and the mantle and all of that. It's slowly stopped, and it was scientists in Beijing who discovered this. And then they think it's probably going to reverse, and it probably reverses every 70 years. But the word probably, they don't know for sure. So that's really, really interesting.
Are you ready for that thing? Or do you want to?
Okay, we can kind of keep that. Yeah, just keep it up there, Jane, because I'll read this first. Okay, so now remember, our lesson is forgiveness, right? And so everything that we're going to talk about will lead us back to why we need to forgive what's in our consciousness. And those chakras that Jamie's showing us, remember those 4 lower bodies, which is earth, water, fire, air. Okay, now the goddesses, the divine magnetic feminine face of the divine, you could say, is this beautiful magnetic power that's in everything. It's in the earth, it's in the water, it's in the fire, it's in the air. And you are made of earth, water, fire, air. These are beautiful, it's pristine energy. And the problem is we defile this energy by wrong-minded thinking. Okay, so then our physical body is affected, our emotional body is affected, our mental body is affected, and our heart becomes weighted down with, stinking thinking, if you could say. And then the other thing is, we have to remember that within our heart, in the chamber of our heart, is a beautiful threefold flame of the divine, but it's become so small because, like that song, what song did you sing? Like, nobody's talking about God anymore. Nobody's talking about love anymore. It's all about money and materialism, and it's gone insane. But that pendulum will swing back into balance. Maybe the inner core of the earth stopping is kind of symbolic of that things are going to come back into balance, or we're all going to be knocked off the planet. Because if you look in history over, time, thousands of years, civilizations have fallen off the planet. Maybe Divine Mother got tired of them and kicked them all off because they're not in alignment with God consciousness. Who knows? But anyway, so we have in the root chakra our physical, it's our survival. And let me tell you guys, if you have thoughts that are so fear-based, and you are wrapped up in your past, thinking about what happened to you and what they said and what they did and all the fears around survival, around death, you are carrying a lot of weight in that root chakra. Okay? And as you can see, around the body is a field of energy. It's the electromagnetic field of energy. Oh, that is so cool. Jamie can do that. Okay, so everybody has that around their body. It's your protective shield. It's actually magnetic. I put electromagnetic there because we are transmitters and receivers, but that magnetic field around your body, it goes out from about 3 to 5 feet. Okay, and it's your protection. But when you defile it, you distort it, you put stuff into it that is not in integrity with God consciousness, then there's a problem and your body begins to break down. So if you have fear-based, and it all begins with the mind, right? So the more you think negative thoughts, the more you start to defile the body, and the body starts to break down. So then you end up you can put like little X's down there near the root chakra. So every time you think fear-based thoughts that are all about, oh my God, how am I going to live in this world I don't have, or I'm so scared, or I'm full of fear, you're carrying with you all of these little X's, which are fear-based thoughts, and they are in that magnetic field. And by the law of magnetic attraction, you are drawing a perfect match to you. Okay? And that's how it happens. And then if your emotional body, you're just vibrating in low emotions, you're always angry, you're fear-based, you're sad, you're depressed, you're whatever it is that you're feeling emotionally, you carry that energy around with you, and it shows up in your magnetic field. And by the law of magnetic attraction, you draw to you everything that you're feeling and focused on emotionally, you draw it to you. So Jamie can put more X's around that there. Okay? Yep. That's your emotional body. And so look what you're doing to your aura. That's around your body. Remember, it's 3 to 5 feet out. It's beautiful magnetic energy, because magnetism, this magnetic energy, comes through the sun. It comes through our atmosphere. Everything has a magnetic field around it. Animals, stones, crystals, me, my glasses, everything. Everything is teeming with life, because it's the divine elements that make it, put it together. And that is the feminine: earth, water, fire, air, ether. So now you have all of these thoughts that are in your magnetic field. And then you move to the solar plexus, which is fire. And this is the realm of the ego. It's also your nervous system. And so what ends up happening, you have thoughts of my way or the highway. And you're so focused on winning at someone else's expense, competing. You're using the energy of God to make someone small so you can be big. You're just using the ego in a wrong way. And so now what happens is that chakra is filled with all kinds of nasties, and they are magnetic. They draw to themselves an exact match. And your beautiful aura, that's a shimmering light that goes out forever, that's your protective shell, is got defilements in it. Okay? And so now, at the level of the heart, you're carrying a lot of heaviness. Your heart has been wounded, and you're wounding other people's heart. And you are in not a good place, and so now the heart is heavy, the heart is closed, you're in resistance. And so now this beautiful heart chakra, even though it has the flame, the threefold flame of the divine in it, it's covered. It's like the heart and the soul are connected, and you have covered it with all of this stinking thinking. So look at your aura now. Okay? And then you wonder, how did that happen to me? Why did I get what I'm getting? Can you see how you got it? By how you think. And so now what you'll do is that's called guilt. All the stuff that you carry in your magnetic field is guilt. And the original guilt is from the belief that you've separated from God. And remember, ideas never leave their source. So you cannot be separated from God. But because you believe that you are, you start making up stuff. You make up a story. Okay? And so now all of that is in your magnetic field. And it all started here. And then in order not to look at that stuff, because somewhere deep inside of you, you think, if I go in and I look at my defilements, I look at my selfishness, I look at my desperate ways of being, I look inward and see who I'm really being, I can't do that. That just doesn't, who does that? So the world, then the universe, provides a mirror so you can see all of that stuff that you're carrying in your aura. You can see all of it reflected in the world. And so the people that you have in your life, you put there by how you think. They're dream characters, as we're told in the Course in Miracles, but you believe they're real, because whatever you're carrying in your aura, and you don't want to look at it and own it, you project it out. You need what's called scapegoats. You need somebody else to put your guilt on. And then what happens is you don't realize you're doing it. Those people begin to animate your guilt. And now you're mad at them. And that's why we call this particular session, you need to pull the plank out of your own eye. The plank in your eye is everything you carry in your magnetic field. Okay? And so everybody has a magnetic field. And so whatever you're carrying in your magnetic field, and it goes back lifetimes. Let's look at this in terms of a timeline. It goes back lifetimes. You are carrying programs, subconscious programming, that comes from eons of time. And you bring it forth from incarnation to incarnation to incarnation. Okay? And until we decide to stop and go in, we keep looping this story. We keep taking this story with us, lifetime to lifetime to lifetime, and nobody's doing anything to you. You're drawing everything to you by how you think. It shows up in your aura, your auric field, and now your body starts to break down because this beautiful magnetic energy around you is being distorted and defiled by stinking thinking. So then all the cells in your body, all the organs in your body, which all have magnetic fields around them, they start to become, they go out of integrity, you could say. You're out of integrity by putting this in there, and then everything starts to break down. So you wind up with diseases, you wind up with, chronic ailments, you wind up dying, all of it. And it's all due to what you carry in your aura. And so now the Course in Miracles says the outside world aura is the law of correspondence. It's whatever you see outside, it came from inside. Law of cause and effect. As I think, I create. I'm not at the effect of this, but I am, as long as I stop and as long as I don't believe that I am what God made, then I'm at the effect of my own cause. My stinking thinking caused it, and I am at the effect of it until I decide to get right with God. I will always be at the effect of it. And there's a temptation in all of us to say, it wasn't my fault. I didn't do it. It just happened. Now you can see, no, you did do it. Everything in your life you put there by how you think. Sickness, people that treat you badly, that you perceive treat you badly, blah, blah, blah. It's all put there by how you think. And then in this aura, this magnetic field, you are drawing to you what first was in your consciousness. Everything in your consciousness gets reflected. It gets projected, and then it gets mirrored back to you. And so we are at a point where in order for the old earth to die and move into the new earth, you have to let go of all that. And all of that stuff in your field is your karma. If you don't forgive it, give it up, give it forth, release it. This is baggage, guys. This is your baggage that we carry from lifetime to lifetime. And so we have to look at this with a higher power. Now, if you're Christian, you might want to look at it with Jesus. If you're Buddhist, you might want to look at it with Kuan Yin. You want to look at it with a higher power that you see as a form in this physical world. Or you're just in alignment with your own higher self and you're like, okay, let's look at this from a higher perspective. What am I learning here? I am learning as I think, I create. As I think, whatever thoughts I hold, they are so powerful. You put every single thing in your aura by how you think. That's how powerful your thoughts are. You've created the reality you find yourself in by how you think. That's how powerful your thoughts are. They're like supernovas flying out into the atmosphere, going into the quantum field, bringing back to you exactly what you sent out from your thought. And so now we know that we are so powerful in how we think, we can create a new reality for ourselves, a reality that is true, God is love. I live in a realm of abundance. There's nothing lacking in me. I am the embodiment of love. In fact, we go to the ashram. Remember, Sue and Baba always addressed, when he was giving a discourse, he would always say embodiments of love. He always addressed us as truth. We are embodiments of love. And when you forget that, you then defile, distort, you completely put nasties into your magnetic field. And actually that magnetic field around your body and around your cells and around your organs and everything is there as a shell to protect you. But when you start with stinking thinking, and when you start to entertain, these silly things you make up about yourself, that's when you start to put all of this darkness in your aura. And then you just keep attracting it over and over and over again. So we can never run from ourselves because, there was a book written, I think, wherever you go, there you are. Something like that. But that's why, because that magnetic field that's full of whatever it is you put there by how you think, you take it with you into a room. Have you ever walked into a room? Yeah, you have. I have. You walk into a place and you walk up to a person and you're like, you're repelled? Okay. And it's like, I got to get out of here. This doesn't work for me. Well, what you're seeing is who you're being in your consciousness. And so the first thing you want to do is run from it, or you see it as a call for love, right? There's two ways of looking at it. It's either love or a call for love. But if you feel resistance to a person that's in your space, what you are resisting is you are not looking at your own defilements. You're not looking at your aura, at your magnetic field and going, well, what's in there that I would feel repulsed by this person in my space? It's not them. They can't defile you. You can't forgive someone else's consciousness. You can't give up or release from someone else's consciousness. So when they show up and you feel, resistance and repulsed by them, that's the moment where you recognize that you are carrying in your aura some nasties. And you need a scapegoat to throw them on. So if this person is in your space and you feel repulsed by them, it's like, oh, I have the same thing going on in my consciousness that I'm not forgiving, that I'm not looking at and realizing it came from me first. What goes around comes around. That's the law of cause and effect, right? And so now this person is in your space and the first tendency is to go, oh my God, they're so negative. I can't deal with this. This is negative. No, you're negative. If you're not at peace because they're there, you're not at peace because you're there in consciousness. You should be able to be anywhere and be at peace. And if you're not at peace, it's because your aura is called pulsing magnets of nasties that you put there by how you think. And it all started with you deciding that you wanted to be a separate self. I want to be something other than what God made. I want to be special. And so me, right here, I feel repulsed by that person because look at them. Listen to what she just said. Oh my God, that's awful. I'm not going to be around that. That's a low vibration. Your job is self-realization. Your job is to recognize that that's the part of you that you have not forgiven. And if you're attacking that, you projected one of those nasties from your auric field onto them so you didn't have to look at you. What you're actually saying to yourself, what you're actually thinking about yourself, who you're being. You're not looking at it, so you have a scapegoat, right? And so, it's different when you're under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. If you go into a room and you are literally walking in there as love, you are a beacon of light. And the world is blessed by your presence. Not by what you say, just by how you show up. You show up and your aura is just twinkling lights. There's no defilements in your magnetic field. And you are this clear and perfect channel for your own higher self. You're not channeling anybody. You're in alignment with your own higher self. And you show up in a room and you notice that there's some negativity over there. If you stay in that light and that person comes over to talk to you, the power that you have as light will dispel the darkness in them. Light dispels darkness. It's not the other way around. It's not like, oh, I'm so full of light and I'm so angelic today and I'm just like, I'm in alignment. And you go somewhere and someone shows up dark and then you're like, oh, I need to go home and meditate and take a shower because their energy was just too much for me. Susan, I see you laughing. Now, can you imagine Jesus saying that? Oh, I need to get out of this temple. I mean, he went into the temple, Jesus did, and he threw the money changers out. But I'm sure he didn't say, I need to go home and take a shower and get my life together because these nasty money changers just wrecked my day. No. So these are the things, like, we have to get really, really honest about what we're saying and what we're thinking and what we're feeling and who we're being in relationship to other people. You know, scapegoats, that was the days of Moses. Those days are over. You are the one that you have to see. You have to see everything inside of yourself, but look at it with a higher power. Look at it with the Holy Spirit. Look at it with Jesus. Look at it with Buddha. Look at it with Krishna. Look at it with Sai Baba. But look at it. Not to look, it has your power. If you do not look and root out the cause of your discomfort, the cause of your sickness, the cause of your lack, the cause of your depression, if you do not root it out, it has power over you. You made it real, and it has power over you. So there's no point in talking like only love is real. Yeah, we know that. But how is it that you don't believe only love is real? What's in you? What are the defilements? What are the barriers to the presence of love? Where are you being selfish? Where are you being ignorant? Where are you being curt? Where are you being bossy? Where are you being controlling? Where are you being out of alignment with love? That's what needs to be looked at. So yeah, only love is real, but you don't believe it. It's just nice words. So let's get down and dirty about who you say you are. And you're saying things like, well, I can't stand that. Well, I don't like her. I don't like that culture. I don't like him. That doesn't work for me. And on and on and on. And then you don't look, you just keep blaming. So now, as I was saying, let's look at the root chakra. You are carrying all kinds of unconscious thoughts, unconscious programs that are coming to you from lifetimes, from your parents, from your primary caregivers as a child, from your teachers and religious leaders. Everybody told you what everything's about. Everybody told you what to believe, you know, and as a little child, and remember that's your 0 to 7, so as a little child, you're a sponge and all you're doing is taking in all this information and you are forming your beliefs based on what you saw, what you heard, and what you experienced. You then formed your beliefs. And so all this unconscious programming winds up being projected onto the world as you grow if you don't root it out. Interesting, it's the root chakra. You have to root it out. You have to take the beam out of your own eye instead of pointing to the speck in your brother's eye. It's not in them. You interpreted it to be that based on what you are saying and being, what your ego has made up for you. But it comes from unconscious programming. Okay, so now the magnetic fields around your root chakra and the magnetic fields around all of the organs that are part of that root chakra, which would be your bones, which would be your, elimination, which would be your security around money, which would be your spine, your teeth and your hair. And all of these magnetic fields are part of the root chakra. And as you think these low vibrational thoughts. Now that root chakra is low vibration. It's like a fan spinning very, very slow. Anything can stick to it because your vibration is so low. It's unconscious. So what begins to happen is that area in your body will break down. You'll have arthritis. You'll have immune system disorders because the blood in the bones governs the immune system, right? It's your immunity. You'll have teeth problems. You'll have problems with hair, your nails, like anything hard in the body. You'll have problems with these. The magnetic fields start to break down. And nobody's doing it to you. This divine magnetic energy that's coming from our sun is meant to support you and protect you, but you are defiling it with negative thoughts. You have not given forth of these negative thoughts. Forgiveness means give up, give forth, release, let go, and move on. So things break down, break down, break down, break down by your own thinking. Then we go to the sacral chakra, and this is the element of water. And so the divine elementals that help build this energy in your body, this rules the flow of your blood, this rules the liquids in your body, this rules your bladder and your kidneys, anything to do with that part of your body, and your sexuality and fertility and all of that. The more you think negative and the more you run the subconscious programming, you start to have problems in that area. It'll be like a breakdown of the magnetic fields around the cells of your uterus, around the cells of your ovaries, around the cells of your bladder. Both men and women, these cells begin to be, they break down. Prostate problems in men. It's the magnetic fields around the organs and cells that begin to be distorted or they go out of integrity. Because you're out of integrity with this love consciousness. And so things begin to break down. And so we have to purify that. And then when we go to the solar plexus, this is the mental plane. It's fire, the element of fire. And remember, the elements are the goddesses. Earth, water, fire, air. They're the goddesses. The beautiful mother energy is feminine. And so everything is energy. Remember, Tesla said, you know, if you know all about energy, vibration, and frequency, wow, you can really manage your energy, manage your life in a very positive way, right? So the goddesses of earth is your root chakra. The goddesses of fire, water is the goddesses of water is your sacral chakra, and the goddesses of fire is your solar plexus. And so this is the mental plane, and you know, it's a seat of the ego. And in Egypt, it's the dual-sided temple, as I was saying a few weeks ago, of Set and Horus. And this is where we choose love or we don't. If you don't choose love, you choose nothing. That's why love is a choice I must make. If you are choosing nothing, then you're entertaining, you're thinking thoughts that are dead thoughts, but to you they're real because you haven't forgiven the dream. You haven't really awakened to this one truth. I am what God created me, and I am what God spoke into existence. Let there be light. And here, your body is simply a beautiful instrument for the divine to flow through. It's like when we go to India. I love India. Oh my God, it's so wonderful. When we see Krishna playing the flute, it's very symbolic. Your body is a flute. And all these chakras are musical notes. They have different mantras that you can say to purify and help cleanse the chakras. They're tones and overtones, and it's so beautiful. Everything is so interrelated, interconnected. And so at this beautiful solar plexus, which is fire, and we know what fire can do. It can warm you or it can burn you. And that's where you choose. I'm going to warm up, you know, my aura with God's presence. I'm going to stand in God's presence. And as that, I carry my aura 3 to 5 feet, twinkling stars around my body out into the world. And when you see me, you have seen the Father. That's what Jesus said. Because his aura, his magnetic field had no nasties in it. It was purified. And he was in integrity with the magnetic field. He was in integrity with everything God said. So here we are in this mental field, and we're using our thoughts to destroy one another. We're using our thoughts to gossip. We're using our mind in a wrong way. And so we see the results of that. What starts to happen is the magnetic fields around your gallbladder, the magnetic fields around your pancreas, the magnetic fields around your stomach. Everything has a magnetic field. All the cells have a magnetic field. They're like little universes within themselves. And they are the integrity of God consciousness. But as you begin to use your mind in a wrong way, what happens then is the magnetic fields start to break down, and you're no longer protected, and you're no longer, cared. I mean, it's a sheath around you, and you begin to break it down. And then it kind of implodes in on itself. You implode on yourself by your own thinking. So you end up with, gallstones, kidney stones, problems with, your assimilation of sugar and different things in the body. The organs and the glands are all part, and they all have magnetic fields. Even a thought you think has a magnetic field around it, and it forms a pattern. If you focus on a thought, it forms a pattern. And that thought with that pattern goes into the magnetic field, into the quantum field, and it starts to attract to it more of itself, whatever that pattern is, and brings it back to you exactly as you thought it out. I thought it out, and it came back to me exactly as I thought it out, a certain pattern, a certain frequency, a certain vibration. Everything is energy. And you came to this planet for self-realization. And how do you do that? By learning how to manipulate energy, how to manage energy. And until you learn that, you will keep using energy, source energy, God energy, destroying the magnetic fields around your body. We have destroyed the magnetic fields around our earth. We are dumping. Listen, guys, just think about, this ego has run riot for, forever. And this is the solar plexus. But you just think about these thoughts of wanting to control countries, wanting to control each other. Out of control with yourself, can't even control your own thinking. And it's just you keep throwing all your stuff out so you don't have to look at it. And of course, this world is just a world to keep fear going. That's all. And if you can keep feeding the fear, then, you're not going to the new earth. You can't go to the new earth with those kind of thoughts. You have to drop all those thoughts, clean this beautiful aura around you, and get rid of the defilements. And it certainly is a lifelong ongoing process. And yet, in the holy instant, all can disappear. But it really takes a lot of effort, discipline, devotion. That's why the 5 Ds are so important. Other things, human values, a moral code of conduct. All of this is missing. You can see the world is haywire. There's no morals. There's no standards. There's no values to live by. It's like just going by the seat of your pants and not realizing that everything you think has a comeback into your life. And we don't really see that. And that all the ancient, teachers coming down through the ages were always telling us about this magnetic field. And that is why we like to travel to places like we go to Egypt. And what do we feel in those temples? The magnetism, the divine love, right? Susan's like, oh, yes. You feel the divine love. We go to Hampi. We go to Sai Baba's ashram. We go to certain places and we can really feel the divine love. And that magnetic field is everywhere. But the reason we feel the divine magnetism, the love in certain places around the world is because there's been a lot of worship there. So when you are in a temple and there's been thousands of years of worshiping a deity or, praying meditating, then you're increasing the magnetic field around your body, which is increasing the magnetism of the temple. So when we go into these places, we feel it, and it's very healing. It brings us up as well. So, that solar plexus then, because it also rules the nervous system, you'll find that if you are really involved in the ego's thought system, there's a lot of nervous anxiety. And tension and stress is what leads to death. Really, that's about the only thing that leads to death. It starts with stress and anxiety. And you will always be anxious when you're away from God. You will always be anxious when you're not allowing the Holy Spirit into your heart. You will always be anxious when you're in a state of resistance. I mean, just think back to those moments or times in your life where you were resisting God. You were resisting being at peace, or, choosing love and doing whatever it took to get yourself into alignment with that. There's anxiety and stress, and these are the two killers. And so this solar plexus is the area that most people are stuck there. The collective consciousness is kind of stuck there. We have glimpses of fourth dimension, which is the heart chakra. We have to empty the heart of all sadness, empty the heart of all, wherever we've defiled the magnetic field around the heart. We have to give it over, ask for help from the Holy Spirit or whoever it is. Like, it's whatever you believe. Okay, if you believe in a higher power, that your own higher power is with you, and that you and your higher power can look upon this together, and that you have it in you to see it from a different, higher perspective, then that's good. But not everyone's at that level, and so religions are good for that, in that the spirit or Sai Baba or Kuan Yin or Buddha or any of our religious deities, they can help you, if you call to them, can help you look at this from a higher perspective and have your mind changed about who you've been telling yourself you are. You've been saying you're a body. You've been saying, that you are a separated self, and that what you believe and what you think is important is better than what they think and what they believe to be important. It's all this specialness in the world of nothingness, right? The dream world. It's all a dream. But I mean, we're going for the happy dream. And so this is how we do it. So we get rid of the defilements of the heart. And so what would happen to your heart if you're holding into a lot of sadness? It starts to affect the heart. And of course, the spinal column that's right behind these chakras, those are the areas of the spine that can be affected as well. The magnetic fields around each one of the vertebrae, the magnetic fields around the cells of the vertebrae, everything has a magnetic field, and it's always in integrity with love. But when you think nasty thoughts, and when you think attack thoughts, and you hold on to judgments, then what happens is the magnetic fields start to break down, and you're no longer healthy. You're no longer happy. You're no longer peaceful, because you're breaking down the magnetic fields around your body, around your cells, around your organs, around everything. And, it doesn't, to say that, none of it is real, well, in the long run, it isn't. But because you believe it, we have to look at how you got yourself there by breaking it down and seeing in the physical world how that would play out in your body, in the collective. How does that play out, right? And once I know that only love is real, and I have purified my chakras, my aura is in integrity, I'm back into integrity with love, my aura is clear and pure and shining bright, then I am an instrument for the divine, and I no longer want to get off the planet. I want the divine to use my body in service in whatever way that looks. Maybe it's working in a bank. Maybe it's putting tires on a car in a assembly plant. It doesn't look like anything in particular. It's just you being an instrument for the divine and allowing the divine love, the divine everything, God, Goddess, all that is, to flow through you so that you can serve the ascension of our planet. Even when the planet ascends, There will still be assembly plants putting wheels on cars. When the planet ascends, there'll still be banks and there'll still be governments. There's governments in heaven. There's governments in those, dimensions, so to speak. And in the end, none of it is true. But for the sake of understanding, we're breaking it down. And so can you imagine when you are a clear vessel, you are the flute of Krishna, when you have no defilements and you are a purified being of love light, you are not reacting to anything. You're just showing up as a beacon of light, and the world is truly blessed by your presence because you are showing up as that. And we do that. We have moments of that. But what we want to look at is the moments when we don't. That's what's got you. When you turn away from that person, you turn away from that culture, you turn away from that race, you turn away from that religion, you turn away from whatever it is in front of you and make it wrong. That's the guilt that you are holding in your consciousness. So it all has to be forgiven. It all has to be given forth until you can be a clear and shiny vessel for God to use you as a communication device. That's what the Course in Miracles says. Your body is a communication device. It is to communicate through your eyes, through Christ's vision. You are able to see the glory, the goodness, the beautiful flowers and trees and the birds and the clouds and the beauty of your fellow man. And the differences are so wonderful. It all makes up the beautiful tapestry of life, and how blessed am I. And the divine uses your words. There's no hurtful anything. It's acknowledging. It's surrendering and listening. It's compassion. It's kindness. The divine uses you. And the divine uses your hands. Right? It uses all your senses. This body is simply a moving temple. And listen, we are meant to live to be 120. Really. And I talked about this before. And if you know anything about the Platonic solids, the dodecahedron is the number 12. God is the number 12. Everything is 12. The zodiac. The hour is half a day, half a night. It's all, everything comes from 12. And so we are meant to live 120 years. You drop the 0 and you have 12 again. But because of this defilement in our aura and the breaking down of the magnetic fields, being out of integrity with love, we're knocking off at, kicking the bucket, and 70, 80, if you make it to 90, well, that's pretty good. But we were meant to live to be at least 120. And even Moses, if you read this story, he didn't start his mission till he was 80. Oh my God. He parted the Red Sea at 80 years old and he lived to be 120. Yeah. And so how blessed. But how do we live to be 120? And why wouldn't you want to live to be 120? I do. Because then I have more time to clear the junk. Because if I don't clear the junk, what's going to happen? I'm going to keep looping back the same old thing. This is the wheel of samsara, the wheel of karma. That's my karma right there. Right there. All those little nasty axes, that's your karma. And if it's not karma, if it's not forgiven, given up, given forth, because karma in and of itself, we've heard this before, is an illusion, but you don't believe that. And so you have to look at it. Who do I still hate? Who do I don't like? Who am I gossiping about? Who am I attacking? Who am I judging? All of that, it's all there. It's all in your field, and you're just running around with it. And then you die. And like I said, you take those 4 lower bodies, your astral bodies, with you. And when you go to the next incarnation, you're cool, you're fine. You don't have a body anymore. The weight of it's gone, and you're in God, you're in a different place. And now, but you still have those defilements in your astral body. And until they're gone, then you just keep coming back, right? And so when you're on the other side, the guides that are with you, they look at your story. That's your story. And again, like I was saying last week, they go, well, you did good here. No, that's awesome. And you're light and happy. You don't care because you're like without a body and you're feeling pretty good over there. But, you know, you decide, okay, I'm still holding out. What areas am I holding out? Where I am too much in the body, where I have attachments and judgments and unforgiveness toward whatever it is. And you are defending everything. And I love that that's our next exercise in the Course in Miracles. When I defend, I am attacked, lesson 135. So you're defending all this guilt. You're defending all this karmic stuff. And you don't realize that you're destroying your magnetic fields and making yourself sick and making yourself weak and making yourself depressed. You don't realize that's what you're doing, but that's what we're doing. Because the powerful thoughts in our mind put everything in your space. All the characters in your dream world, all the people that you don't like, all the, you know, the countries that you think suck, and all the, you know, cultures that you think are not worth, you know, paying attention to, all of it. You don't realize that we're all interconnected. We're all one people. We're all one in the Christ light. You don't realize it yet. And what we have to do is get to a point where we know that. And we would harm no one. We practice nonviolence in thought, word, and deed. And so until we do that, we keep doing that. We keep putting more stuff, dumping more stuff into the magnetic field. And so we move up through the heart, we purify the heart, we start fanning the flame, the threefold flame of the divine, which is divine love, divine will, and divine wisdom. And when we fan the flame, you know, it's pink, blue, and gold. It becomes the violet flame. And that's why they say, you know, practice using the violet flame. When you say, I am a being of violet fire, I am the purity God desires. Fill that magnetic field that's got all this darkness in it. Fill it with the violet fire. Can you see that? We're going to do a little meditation at the end so we can see that. But we want to fill this, now that you can see your aura that you're taking around, destroying the magnetic field, the protective sheath around your body, you're filling it with this darkness. We want to purify, and we'll use the violet fire. And you know, we can go deeper with that, and we can say, what thoughts am I thinking? What fears am I rooted in? What judgments am I holding on to? You know, and you can start to really go deeper and pull that stuff up until you know that you know only love is real. Anything unreal does not exist. In truth, that doesn't exist. But first you have to know only love is real. If you don't know that, and if you don't practice that, then you're going to be tempted to believe that that person that said that thing to you that made you ticked off is your problem. You'll be tempted. But once you know only love is real, because you have consciously decided to pull the plank out of your own eye instead of pointing to the speck in your brother's eye, meaning to look at, those are your planks right there, guys, in all your chakras. Those are your planks. And you have to pull them out. You have to look at them and let them go. Let them go so you can be a clear and shiny mirror for all to see the face of Christ. We move through the heart. We fill this auric field with the violet fire. And I did a meditation once where you actually feel this violet fire crackling. You know when you make a fire in like a bonfire? I love doing that. Roasted marshmallows, sitting around bonfire, so fun. And the sparks fly up to the midnight sky, and it's like, wow, and it's kind of cold, and you're wrapped in a blanket, and it's crackling. Imagine that this violet fire is in your aura, in this magnetic field, and it's crackling and destroying and breaking up these defilements that you're carrying. Such a great visual. And then we move into the throat chakra, and when you get here, because you've purified the body, every word that comes out of your mouth is high vibration. Every word. Because by the power of the spoken word, you now know that you are getting what you're saying. You get that very clearly. When you know that only love is real and it's magnetic, then this chakra is the will of God. Not my will, God's will. So when you're speaking God's will, It's like a grand rising of love in you. You are not speaking anything else. And so this chakra then is very, very powerful. And you begin to say and speak on behalf of the divine. You say things that have meaning. You say things that are important and loving and kind. You listen with generous listening. Every word is a vibration that is a magnetic vibration. Powerful, beautiful love. You're in integrity with God consciousness. You're in integrity with everything God said you are. And so this is not being used to cause any kind of hurt to anyone. Think about what you say from here. It's because these two chakras, the solar plexus and the throat, and Sujima, I've been talking about this for like 30 years. Remember all the workshops we do on the chakras? But doesn't it make more sense now? Like it's like, what? Like it's getting deeper. It's getting deeper. This chakra, the solar plexus and this, okay, when you move through the heart, this chakra flips up. Like it becomes filled with love because you are in alignment with divine will. You are speaking divine will. And what's God's will for you? Perfect happiness. And so this chakra then is only used for the highest good. Wow. And, so when we speak words that are low vibrational words, remember everything is energy, frequency, and vibration. Nikola Tesla told us that. And when we really start to understand that, words that are low vibration, they go down, whatever they are, whatever it's referring to, it gets assimilated in these chakras and then defiles the magnetic field. And then it collapses. And it collapses in on yourself by your own doing. By your own doing. Nobody or nothing is doing anything to you. You are defiling the magnetic field, this protective sheath, this beauty around you, this integrity of God around you. It's around everything. We've defiled the atmosphere, haven't we? Chemtrails in the sky. What kind of junk is pouring down? We've completely put nonsense, nasties into the environment. That is the air element, which is the heart. We have polluted our waters with all kinds of garbage, and that is our sacral chakra. We're polluting the emotional body by entertaining low vibrational emotion. And the earth, we have messed up our earth. Look what we've done to the earth. And we've done that to our own bodies, entertaining lack and scarcity and loss and fear. We're defiling our own body temple. We are doing it to ourselves. And yet these magnetic fields, this light coming, these solar flares that have been shooting off of our sun as we enter into this beautiful photon belt, because we're coming to the end of an age. The light coming from this is phenomenal. It is so healing if you're not resisting it. But if you're resisting it, it's a problem. And what does light do? It brings up darkness. And it's always darkest before dawn. So we're really seeing there's so much light coming to the planet. It's purging. Everything is coming into the light. And this is what Jesus tells us in the Course in Miracles. He's always saying you have to expose the darkness. You can't go to a new world holding on to darkness. You have to let it all go. You have to drop the baggage, let go and you let go of it through forgiveness, right? And so these are the times that we are in, the transitional times, and we want to purify those chakras. And so now when I speak words of love and words of forgiveness, I forgive the dream, I forgive the world, I forgive you because you don't even exist in the way that I've interpreted you to exist. You are one with me in the Christ light. And I'm going to see you as one with me in the Christ light. I'm not going to see you as anything less than that. And so together we go to God. So I start to speak differently. I start to speak words of healing. I'm not preaching. I'm just like enjoying the beauty of the world. I'm saying, did you see that pink flower over there? See how pretty that was? Oh, did you hear the humming of that little bee collecting the nectar? Isn't that so cute? So you are serving the beauty. And then your solar plexus in your heart gets filled with love. You're serving the beauty. And everything gets filled with love. And your solar plexus then relaxes and your nervous system becomes calm. You're not a basket case. You're not anxious or stressed out because you're entertaining the beauty. And you are seeing with God's eyes. The vision that God gives you when you are in integrity with love is Christ's vision. So you're seeing a whole different frequency. And you're seeing like, oh my goodness, that person is having a bad day because they don't know that they're the image and likeness of God. So I'm going to hold that for them until they wake up. I'm just going to hold presence, right? And so I start to feel different. I think differently. I say things differently. And this solar plexus becomes filled with love and there's no choice to be made. That's what it means in the Course in Miracles. There's no choice. You are what God made. Full stop. Full stop. And there's no split world. The split world is a result of a deceived mind. And so there's no choice. You are the embodiment of happiness and your solar plexus is filled with love. And you are seeing a call for love or love. And you recognize that. And then your emotional body at the sacral chakra, you are in the flow. It's water. You are flowing with life. And whatever life brings to you, because you are the image and likeness of everything God said, you know what to do. You know what to do. You are being guided every step of the way because you are in the flow of life. You're not pushing life away. You're allowing life to be as it is. And in that consciousness, you can navigate because the Holy Spirit is your guide. Or your higher self is your guide. So you're not pushing stuff away. You're not saying that's bad. You're not saying that shouldn't be like that. You're seeing life as it is. It's like that. And who cares? If you care or if you're having a meltdown about it, it's because you still have unforgiveness in your consciousness. It's like polarity. There's this and this, and you're here. You have to, love sees everything as it is. Love sees everything as it is. So, you're in the flow. And then you're in that root chakra. You're speaking because your will is aligned with God. You're speaking God words. You're vibrating in a high consciousness. So you're not in fear or lack. You're not afraid that you're not going to have anything. You're not afraid of getting sick. You're not afraid of anything. God didn't create you to be sick. God created you to be an instrument. God created you to be a moving temple by which he could have his being within. This body is a shell, like an overcoat for the spirit. And so you are rooted in Gaia, in love consciousness. You are now this vibrating electromagnetic field of everything God got us, all that is. And you are enjoying the dream world until you're 120 or so. And it's like, well, the spirit says, time to move on. You don't move on with a heart attack. You don't move on with cancer. You gently lay your body down and go to the next whatever it is you're going to do. Right? That's what we're told. And that's truth. But because of these defilements in the magnetic field that you defend and protect, you constantly are under attack. That's next lesson. But anyway, and we'll keep referring to this. And so as I get that out, I take the plank out of my own eye and I stop looking for scapegoats to project my fear onto. Then I'm in integrity. And the magnetic fields around my cells, the magnetic fields around my organs, the magnetic fields around my body, everything protects me. Everything takes care of me. I am a moving temple surrounded by grace. Can you get the visual? Can you feel it? This is what's true. This is what's true. And I just think it's so beautiful. So with that, does anybody want to say anything? Let me know. Okay, so in the Course in Miracles, we know that this whole world is a dream world, but it seems so real because we believe that we're separate from God. Okay, so we're going to look at everything here. So I want to talk about Sai Baba's discourse, which is so good and really helps to drive this point home for us. So he gave here's what it says. Sai Baba almost never gave interviews. So this is a very special, with reporters. So he gave an interview to a reporter, and the year that this interview took place was 2012. Okay? So the interviewer asked him, have you heard of the year 2012, Baba? Like a year when something will happen. And Sai Baba said, the truth is that the planet has been changing its vibratory state, and this change has intensified since the year 1989, where the magnetic poles have moved in the last 20 years more than in the last 2,000 years. And I love this because it's coming from an avatar. Then he goes on and he says, well, in one way, there are several prophecies that signal this date like a term or important conclusion in the history. But the most significant is the end of the Mayan calendar, which prophecy has been interpreted in different ways. The most negative ones think that during this year, the world will end. Remember back in 2012? Okay. But Baba says it's not going to be quite like that, but it is known that during that year, a new era will start, and it is the age of Aquarius. This has to do with the rotation of the whole solar system, the solar cycle, that goes passing through the different eras. And each one of them in the Mayan calendar lasts 5,125 years. And in our timeline, in our calendar, each age lasts 2,165 years. The era in which we are now in, called the Age of Pisces, started in the year 3,113 BC, and it ends in 2012 as the Age of Aquarius begins. If there is a change on the Earth's magnetism, there is a change on the consciousness and also an adaptation at the physical level for this new vibration. So the magnetism, which is the divine love, it's the goddess energy, is coming to the planet in a big way. The changes are not only on our planet, but also affect the whole universe. And today's science can verify that. Baba goes on to say, inform yourself about the changes on the solar storms. These are the solar flares that are coming from our sun. These are magnetic storms, and you will see that scientists are up to date with these things or ask about the movement of the magnetic poles during the last years, and airports have to modify their instruments. This change on the magnetism translates, or it's perceived as, an increment of light. The mother is light. The divine Shekinah light is the mother. Magnetism, magnetic. And this causes an increase on the planet's vibration. For you to understand it easily, you must know that this vibration is affected and intensified due to the consciousness of all human beings. So what are you thinking? What's in your consciousness? Because you will affect the magnetic fields by what's in your consciousness. Gaia, the mother, the magnetism of our planet is a reflective, she's reflective. That's why you see the different aspects of the Divine Mother as segment. Mother Kali with the string of human skulls around her neck. You're seeing Hathor, Goddess Mat, Aphrodite, Goddess Neth. You see the different forms of the Mother. Each thought, each emotion, and each new awakening of a human being toward the consciousness of God elevates the vibration of this planet. This might seem like a paradox due to the fact that the majority sees around themselves more hatred and misery, but this is not so. There are many, even if I would like them to be more, that are trying to get out of darkness to grow and become a better son of God. I have been saying this on previous messages. Each one chooses where to focus the view. And those who only see the darkness are focused on the drama. When you look with the ego's mindset, you are focused on nothingness, which is nothing but drama. You are also seeing and focused on the pain and injustice. If you don't see the spiritual advancement that humanity has made, it is because you haven't focused on it. But if you do the right work and liberate your mind of the negative, which is all that stuff in your consciousness, that's what the mind is. The consciousness all filled with those defilements. You liberate your mind of all the negative, you will open a space where you will be able to manifest your divine essence that will put on the focus of what is really happening with humanity and the planet. Humanity is elevating its consciousness as never before. This planet, Gaia, is the last planet in our solar system that's making an ascension. She's taking a sacred place in the solar system, and we are going with her if we choose to, by changing our minds about who we say we are and getting all of those defilements, all of those nasties in that auric field, getting them out, not destroying the integrity of the magnetic fields around you. So that's a really powerful message from Sai Baba. Okay. Also, the other thing, did I say this? To check out the Schumann resonance. I wanted to mention that. And look at your divine elements. Like, look at earth, water, fire, air in your own body temple. And notice how you care for the element of earth in your body. Notice how you care of the element you care for the element of water, which is, remember, earth is your root chakra, and it is your survival, and it is your bones, your teeth, it's your immune system. Look at all of that. And look at your emotional well-being, what thoughts you're thinking, low vibration, low emotion. Look at your mental, the fire, and look at the air. And you know, there's so many different things you can do. I mean, ultimately, it's all about how you think, but we need support in the dream world. In this world of time and space, there are rituals and different things that we can do that help us to feel better, to raise our vibration, to change our frequency, you know, use these energies, use these things in a way that can help you be more at peace. And so anyway, that's what I wanted to share before finishing off our lesson. Before I start reading the lesson, this is from the Course in Miracles, chapter 27, which is really powerful. It says, a sick and suffering you. If you're sick and suffering in any way, it represents your brother's guilt. The witness that you send, lest he forget the injuries he gave, from which you swear he will never escape. In other words, you make sin real. You make sin real in yourself. Sin is mistaken identity. You think you're a body instead of I am what God said, whole, perfect, and complete. And by thinking that I am whole, perfect, and complete, then everyone you see around you is the same as you. But if you believe you're a guilty sinner, you don't know that you believe that, but you project your guilt onto your brother, you're making sin real. You think that you are a body, that you are limited, and you're making your brother in the same image as you make yourself. You'll see people in the image and likeness of what you say about you. The sick and sorry picture you accept, if only it can serve to punish him. The sick are merciless to everyone. So insanity, that's a sick mind. You're merciless to everyone. And in contagion do they seek to kill. Death seems an easy price if they can say, behold me, brother, at your hand I die. That's the same as Jesus saying, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. So if you see yourself as a guilty sinner, then you're going to see everybody else as a guilty sinner, and you're going to kill them so that you can be relieved of the guilt. And that's a sword. So you die at your own sword. For sickness is the witness to his guilt, and death would prove his errors must be sins. The bleak and bitter picture you have sent your brother, you have looked upon in grief. And everything that is shown to him have you believed, because it witnessed to the guilt in him which you perceived and loved. Oh, that is so again, all it's saying is that everything you hold, all those defilements that you hold in your own mind, that's what you see in your brother. This is your image and likeness that you said about yourself. And instead of seeing it in you, you see it in your brother. You've made it real in you, and so you're going to see it real in your brother. Wow. Okay, let's go to the lesson. And where was I in this? Okay. All right. So I'm on paragraph 2, 1-3. This twisted view of what forgiveness means is easily corrected when you can accept the fact that pardon is not asked for what is true. And what is that? You're believing that sin is real. That's what this is saying. And it's not true. You are not a sinner. You are everything God made, whole, perfect, and complete. When you can accept the fact that pardon is not asked for what is true, it must be limited to what is false. It is irrelevant to everything except illusions. Wow. A sick and suffering you, but represents your brother's guilt. Think about that again. You've made the sin real in you. You've projected it onto your brother. They mirror back what you've said about yourself, and now you both sink. But it started with you, your own guilt. Truth is God's creation, and to pardon that is meaningless. All truth belongs to Him. It reflects His laws. I love God's laws. First law, all is mine. That's a universal truth. All is mine. As I think, I get the results of what I think. So God's laws in this world, where was I? All truth belongs to Him, reflects His laws, and radiates His love. Does this need pardon? How can you forgive the sinless and eternally benign? The major difficulty that you find in genuine forgiveness on your part is that you still believe you must forgive the truth and not illusions. So what we're saying here is, I forgive you for what you have not done. You haven't done anything. The fact that I think you did is the source of my suffering. I think I'm a sinner. So if I think I'm a sinner, you must be a sinner too. So the statement just means I forgive I forgive you for what you have not done. You conceive of pardon as a vain attempt to look past what is there, to overlook the truth in an unfounded effort to deceive yourself by making an illusion true. So that's like the scapegoat. I'm not going to look at my own defilements. I'm not going to look at my stinking thinking. I'm not going to look at what I believe about me. I'm going to see it in you. All right. This twisted viewpoint but reflects the hold that the idea of sin retains as yet upon your mind as you regard yourself. So all those things in your chakras, that's who you think you are. That's your image and likeness. It goes out and a person shows up and you think it's in them. So I'm a sinner. I haven't forgiven. I haven't given forth of these defilements in me, this guilt. And so I see you as the same thing. And then forgiveness to destroy says, well, you're a sinner, you're bad. Like, you shouldn't have done that. You really hurt me, blah, 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 blah. But in my self-righteousness, I forgive you. That's the forgiveness we were taught. And then because you think your sins are real, you look on pardon as deception. Wow. For it is impossible to think of sin as true and not believe forgiveness is a lie. Thus is forgiveness really but a sin, like all the rest. Wow. So that kind of forgiveness, like, that's actually attacking, isn't it? When you here's your image and likeness with your magnetic field filled with all this guilt that you haven't looked at, you haven't forgiven. It's patterns of nasty that you carry with you. You project it out. The person mirrors it back. And in your self-righteous holiness, you forgive them. that is not forgiveness. That is attack. Because what you're saying is your sin is real. What you did is real because you believe what you did is real. You're still looking for God to punish you. So that's where that line comes from. Pardon is no escape in such a view. It merely is a further sign that sin is unforgivable. At best to be concealed, denied, or called another name, for pardon is a treachery to truth. Don't you love these words? They're so profound. Guilt cannot be forgiven. If you sin, your guilt is everlasting. And what that means is guilt remains in you as long as you think sin is real. So all of that stuff in your magnetic field, that's guilt. Okay? That's your guilt. And it's going to remain there because you think sin is real. You really think that somebody could murder. You really think that someone could rape. You really think that you made all of that real. And so that guilt's going to stay in you. It's going to keep looping lifetime to lifetime until you know that none of it is real. That sin is the absence of light. That's all sin is. It's a mistaken identity. When you are mistaken, when you think that you're a made-up self and you have this special identity as, I'm here, you're there, oh my gosh, then you maintain that through your entire life and everybody else is wrong and bad and guilty because you don't know that you're doing it to yourself. You don't realize that you're carrying all this unconscious, right, guilt. And it's because religion told you they're a mortal sinner. Remember the different sins? Mortal sin, venial sin, original sin. You have all this sin. But sin means to be without light. It's darkness. That's all it is. So Jesus says guilt cannot be forgiven. If you sin, your guilt is everlasting. And in that, guilt will remain as long as you believe that sin is real. In other words, as long as you believe that darkness is real. As long as you believe the ego is real, guilt is going to stay in you. All this is going to stay in you. Those who are forgiven from the view their sins are real are pitifully mocked and twice condemned. First by themselves for what they think they did, and once again by those who pardon them. And then this paragraph from the Course says, a better person, so that's holier than thou you, who haven't looked at your stuff, okay? A better person deigns to stoop to save the baser. I'm holy, you're evil. So you're going to save a baser one from what he truly is. Forgiveness here rests on an attitude of gracious lordliness, so far from love that arrogance could never be dislodged. Who can forgive and yet despise? When you forgive somebody wholly and completely, it's because you see no sin in yourself. You have forgiven yourself for transgressions, for whatever it is. When you thought without love, when you spoke without love, when you showed up as loveless, when you withheld love, you have forgiven or given forth of all of those ideas about yourself. And so there's no stooping. It's simply when someone shows up and they say, oh my God, I molested my sister when I was 14. All you feel is compassion. All you feel is compassion for that person. Nothing else. All right. Who can forgive and yet despise? And who can tell another, oh, I read that. All right. Well, let me read it again. And who can tell another he is steeped in sin and yet perceive him as a son of God? Who makes a slave to teach what freedom is? Whoa, slavery's dead, guys. Stop it. You're making people a slave to sin because you're a slave to sin. You still believe that you could possibly, be separated from God. You're an evil sinner. No, all you did was think without love. And that became guilt. There is no union here, but only grief. This is not really mercy. This is death. It is sin's unreality that makes forgiveness natural and wholly sane. Sin's unreality, because darkness is not real. Only love is real, and that's light. So sin's unreality that makes forgiveness natural and wholly sane. A deep relief to those who offer it, a quiet blessing where it is received. It does not countenance illusions, but collects them lightly with a little laugh and gently lays them at the feet of truth. And here and there they disappear entirely. So good advice, guys. All those illusions that you carry, all those defilements, all the loveless thoughts, words, and deeds that are in your magnetic field, lay them at the feet of the Spirit and say, here, change my mind about who I've been saying I am. Change my mind. Change my perception. Help me to see this differently. Jesus says, you may wonder why it is so crucial that you look upon your hatred. That's your hatred, the guilt in your magnetic field that's collapsing the magnetic fields around you. You have to look at that hatred and realize its full extent. You may also think that it would be easy enough for the Holy Spirit to show it to you and to dispel it without the need for you to raise it to awareness yourself. There it is. Unless you expose the darkness, Jesus says, without you, the Holy Spirit can't show it to you and help dispel it unless you raise it to awareness yourself. You have to look at it. Forgiveness is the only thing that stands for the truth in the illusions of the world. Give up the stinking thinking. Give up, give forth, forgive everything you carry in your magnetic field. It sees their nothingness. That's what forgiveness does. It sees their nothingness. I gave it up because I realize it's not true. I am what God made. And so are you. And so if you made a mistake, so what? Who cares? And if you're mad because they made a mistake, the mistake is in you. It's a mistaken identity. You're still holding guilt. And so it sees their nothingness and looks straight through the 1,000 forms in which they may appear. And again, once you forgive, you give up the dream, you give up this, you have the eyes of the Christ, the all-seeing eye of Horus. You are seeing through the beautiful all-seeing eye of the divine. Vision or judgment is your choice, but never both of these. So when you align, you're in integrity with the magnetic fields of divine love around you, and you are surrounded and swimming in divine grace. You have the vision of Christ. You are seeing through the all-seeing eye of Horus, of Christ's vision. And if you are not in integrity and you are entertaining and being fear-based and whatever it is you're reacting to in the world, then as Jesus says here, judgment is where you're coming from. And vision or judgment is a choice, but never both of these. When you choose Christ's vision, you've turned your back on judging anything. And if you choose judgments, you have turned your back on Christ's vision and you are still in duality. Seeing through the eyes of duality. All right. It looks on lies, but it is not deceived. And why is that? Because the miracle is a correction. The Holy Spirit gives us the miracle, whereby we can now see that, wow, by my own thoughts, that was the result. By how I think, I got the result of how I think. By how I believe, I got the result of my beliefs. Not what I think I believe, but what I really believe is showing up for me. And the Holy Spirit changes your mind, and the miracle is a correction whereby now you think differently. You see it from above the battleground the conflict in the mind, you see the truth. It does not heed the self-accusing shrieks of sinners mad with guilt. It looks on them with quiet eyes and merely says to them, "My brother, what you think is not the truth." Jesus says, "Son of God, you have not sinned, but you have been much mistaken." Mistaken, you think you're something other than what God made. That's the mistake. All right. The strength of pardon is its honesty, which is so uncorrupted that it sees illusions, not as truth. Truth is the only thing that's real. Truth is truth. That's it. Illusions are illusions, and they're not real. That's it. The secret of salvation is this, that you are doing this unto yourself. That's the secret of salvation. No one's doing anything to you. Your body is sick because you have defiled the magnetics around it with stinking thoughts. The magnetic fields are collapsing in on themselves because of how you think. You're doing it all to yourself. It is because of this that it becomes the undeceiver in the face of lies, the great restorer of the simple truth by its ability to overlook what is not there. I mean, how many times do you just like point at that person? And the first thing you see is what you think they shouldn't have done or said or showed up as. Right? That's the first thing you point to when you're entertaining the ego's thought system. It opens up the way to truth, forgiveness does, which has been blocked by the dreams of guilt. Your magnetic field is holding guilt, and that's the blocks. Now you are free to follow the way your true forgiveness opens up to you. For if one brother has received this gift of you, the door is open to yourself. Oh my God, reciprocity. As I forgive, I am forgiven. So beautiful. There is a very simple way to find the door to true forgiveness and perceive it open wide in welcome. When you feel that you are tempted to accuse someone of sin in any form, do not allow your mind to dwell on what you think they did. For that is self-deception. Ask instead, would I accuse myself of doing this? Wow. That is really powerful. And this is where Jesus says in chapter 27, "Behold me, brother, at your hand I die." And Jesus said in the Bible, "By the sword you live, or by the sword you die." Thus will you see alternatives for choice in terms that render choosing meaningful, and keep your mind as free of guilt and pain as God himself intended it to be, and as it is in truth. So Jesus says from, I didn't write it down. Sorry, guys. You know, over the years, I have collected so many Course in Miracles notes in my files on my computer. And back then, a lot of times I didn't write where I got it from. Okay. Anyway, Jesus says, forgiveness might be called a kind of happy fiction. Because nothing in the dream world is real. But okay, so we use forgiveness in the happy dream. A way in which the unknowing can bridge the gap between their perception and the truth. Forgiveness is a symbol. It's a symbol too, but as the symbol of his will alone, it cannot be divided. And so the unity that it reflects becomes his will. It is the only thing still in the world in part, and yet the bridge to heaven. So forgiveness, and everywhere else it says the Holy Spirit is the bridge back to God. And here it's talking about forgiveness as the bridge to heaven. So to have a happy dream in this fictional world, we have to use forgiveness to give forth whatever you're holding in your magnetic field. You give it up, you let it go, you release the karma, because you want to go to the new world, right? Like the book of Revelations talks about, we're creating a new world, a new kingdom. So that's what we have to do. Across this bridge, as powerful as love, which laid its blessing on it, are all dreams of evil and hatred and attack brought silently to truth. So I've exposed my darkness. I look at my darkness in my magnetic field. I expose it. I bring it up into the light, okay? And that bridge that we're using is forgiveness. He does not have to fight to save himself. You don't have to fight to save yourself. He does not have to kill the dragons, which he thought pursued him. Don't make the dragons real. That's why you think you have to kill them, because you made them real. Nor need he erect the heavy walls of stone and iron doors he thought would make him safe. He can remove the ponderous and useless armor made to chain his mind to fear and misery. His step is light. Shekinah, magnetic, beautiful mother. And as he lifts his foot to stride ahead, a star is left behind to point the way to those who follow him. We're almost there. What time is it? Okay. Forgiveness must be practiced. And Jesus says here from chapter 31, I do not know the thing I am, and therefore do not know what I am doing, where I am, or how to look upon the world or on myself. The ego is going to be the one who's interpreting who you are, right? You've already told yourself who you are, and you've already acted on who you've told yourself you are by everything that you've held here for lifetimes. And Jesus says, no, you don't know the thing that you are. You don't even know what you're doing, where you are, or how to look upon the world. You just don't know. And then he says, forgiveness must be practiced, for the world cannot perceive its meaning, nor provide a guide to teach you its beneficence. There is no thought in all the world that leads to any understanding of the laws it follows. God has laws. In fact, God is law. Mind, all is mind. As I think, I create. Law of vibration. Everything is vibrating. Everything is moving. Law of cause and effect. As I think, I see it. Law of correspondence. It's all there. Law of rhythm. It's all there. There is no thought in all the world that leads to any understanding of the laws it follows, nor the thought that it reflects. It is as alien to the world as is your own reality. And yet it joins your mind with the reality in you. Today we practice true forgiveness, that the time of joining be no more delayed. I'm going to join with my brother and sister in the one Christ light. And I'm going to see them as I would want to see myself, whole, perfect, and complete. And to recognize that when they did whatever it is they did, it was a mistaken identity. They forgot who they were, as I forgot who I am many times in my life. And it's all good, because none of it is real. So I'm going to join with you in the light, and I'm going to hold compassion and truth for you. For we would meet our reality in freedom and in peace. Our practicing becomes the footsteps lighting up the way for all our brothers who will follow us to the reality we share with them. I cannot go without you, for you are part of me. How beautiful is that? I cannot go without you, for you are part of me. That this may be accomplished, let us give a quarter of an hour twice today and spend it with a guide who understands the meaning of forgiveness and was sent to us to teach it. Let us ask of him, let me perceive forgiveness as it is. Then choose one brother as he will direct. And, they always say, you already know the person that you need to do some work with around. And catalog his sins as one by one as they cross your mind. Oh, he's this, he's that. Oh my God, you have a whole list of what you think they did wrong. Be certain not to dwell on any one of them, but realize that you are using his offenses, but to save the world from all ideas of sin. Briefly consider all the evil things you thought of him, and each time ask yourself, would I condemn myself for doing this? That's so good. Let him be freed from all the thoughts you had of sin in him. And now you are prepared for freedom. If you have been practicing thus far in willingness and honesty, you will begin to sense a lifting up, a lightening of weight across your chest, a deep and certain feeling of release. The time remaining should be given to experiencing the escape from all the heavy chains you sought to lay upon your brother, but were laid upon yourself. And that's all your stuff that you're carrying. Forgiveness should be practiced through the day, for there will still be many times when you forget its meaning and attack yourself. When this occurs, allow your mind to see through this illusion as well as you tell yourself, let me perceive forgiveness as it is. Would I accuse myself of doing this? I will not lay this chain upon myself. In everything you do, you must remember this. No one is crucified alone, and yet no one can enter heaven by himself. That is so beautiful. And it's so true, isn't it? That's why we go in the ark 2 by 2. I'm standing in love and I see you as a forgiven son of God, or I'm standing in not love and I see you as a sinful murderer. And until I change my mind, no one goes to heaven. We all go to heaven or no one goes to heaven. So that is so beautiful, this lesson. And I'm excited for next week, lesson 135, if I defend myself, I am attacked, because we'll continue on, and the visual of the chakras and the levels of consciousness will be a real good teaching tool to help you understand it. And so that's our lesson for today. I'll be here Friday night to continue with Ascending Soul Astrology, and we will be finishing Lilith, this beautiful archetype that helps us to navigate through our consciousness and to see what it is we're holding in our consciousness that we need to let go of. So a wonderful tool astrology is for that. And I think that's everything. So have a happy day, a good night, and just know that you are highly favored and very blessed by God, as I am. And in that, sending you a million hugs and kisses, and of course, lots of love. So have a good week ahead. Take good care, and bye for now. Bye.